Hi guys, welcome. If you're new here, my name's Nikki. I'm a beekeeper and I make beekeeping videos. If that's something you like watching, then hit the subscribe button. If you're one of my returning subscribers, thank you so much for coming back and listening to what I have to say. I really appreciate it. Today I'm going to do our week 15 inspection on my newest hive. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I will link them down in the description below as always, and you can check them out if you'd like. So recently with these bees, they've been doing really well. The queen's really strong, but I did add a honey super for them a while back and they haven't really done much with it. So hopefully we'll go in today and they've got a little bit more done in that super. If not, I'll probably keep it on for just a little bit longer and give that to another hive possibly, and just really let these girls focus on bumping up their stores down in those bottom boxes for winter. Well, I'll get my stuff on and we'll get started. So if you can tell, I did replace the Boardman feeder on the front. This hive started out really strong and kind of stalled there for a little bit. I don't think they were doing particularly well with the community feeder. And I really wanted to see them draw a little bit more out. So I added that Boardman feeder back to them, and they're taking a ton of sugar syrup. I'm just going to check for my queen really quickly. And I don't see her up here. Okay. Please excuse the plane overhead. I'm going to wait till that passes. So I do live kind of close to a smaller airport, so I apologize for the airplane noises. I can't really help it. So, but like I said, these girls struggled a little bit with the community feeder. When you put those out, you put them out for your bees, and the native bees and other insects do feed off of them as well. So there is a little bit more competition. It's a really good amount of bees up here in this super. I do not have a queen excluder on, so I'm just checking for the queen again. She's not up here. So this, just to show you how much sugar syrup they're taking, this feeder holds about 6 pounds of sugar syrup. I replaced it for them last night about 5 p.m. and it is about 12:30 p.m. the next day. So they've completely taken all that sugar syrup. I'll replace that when I'm finished. Just gonna take a quick check inside the super to see if we've got any more drawn out. And as in previous videos, I'm not gonna walk all these frames up there to you unless there's something significant on them. And the last frame is empty. Okay. There seems to still be just a little bit of drawing out on these frames. So I see a little bit drawn out here. Again, I don't think it's going to be enough to pick up on camera. Ideally, what I'd like to see is them start from the middle and really draw out those frames and work their way out. But it looks like in this super, they've kind of just started drawing kind of randomly. This hive has so much propolis. Again, tiny amount of comb on here. I'll try to get a close-up of the propolis in this hive. Each hive does a little bit different amounts of propolis producing, and this hive is a lot. Again, just very tiny amount of comb drawn out here. So they have taken in the past week a lot of sugar syrup from this Boardman feeder. So I'm hoping, since I'm not seeing a ton up here, that we're going to see those frames drawn out in the other deeds. And yeah, nothing really significant. And if we get closer to winter and they don't have enough resources here, then I will give them from another hive. And as I'm going through here, I'm just kind of checking for the queen. It's not likely that she's up here, especially since there's no place for her to lay, but there's no excluder on, so it's possible. Ooh, that is not a friend. That is a yellow jacket that just tried to come up. It is in the hive now, so I'm going to get that out. There you go. That is one of my concerns with the Boardman feeder, is that they're going to have a little bit of robbing. So I do watch them really, really closely. And it doesn't matter if you put that feeder inside of the hive. A lot of people think that keeps the robbing down, but it does not, because other insects and predators can smell that sugar syrup. So nothing really significant up here. I'm going to put this back together, and then we're going to take this off and go down into the next box. Okay, we've got lots of bees up here. I'm going to try to finish with this inspection. Like I said before, going through the top super, I did see a yellow jacket kind of hovering around. So if we have a couple more of those, it may agitate our bees a little bit. And if that happens, I'll just pack them up. Oh wow. Okay, we've still got our frame of nectar and syrup here on the outside, and they've made some progress there. And the back side, still a beautiful frame of syrup and nectar. So there you can see the frame of syrup and nectar there. And, oh, it's heavy. And there is what the backside looks like. Definitely a little more full than before. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that yellow jacket since that frame is exposed. It's a really, really pretty day. Lots of bees. Yeah, it's like mid-70s today, very little wind. Okay, so here on the outside we've got frame. They've got a little bit more built out on it. I've got some syrup being stored, and we have some eggs in here as well. And the back side is a frame of syrup. This looks like it was a brood frame. There's still a little bit of capped brood on here, but they are backfilling that, it looks like. So there's what this side looks like. Again, it looks like as those bees are emerging, they're backfilling those cells, really creating a lot of nice store for themselves. Significant difference in the weight of these frames from last week. Lots and lots of bees on our next frame. As I said earlier in the video, this hive slowed down a little bit. They kind of stalled on building, but there has not been a point that the queen has stalled at all. She's continued to be a rock star. So here we've got a frame, a previous brood frame that looks like is being backfilled with syrup. There's still a tiny amount of capped brood left on here. Not a lot. Those are sticking. And on this side, it looks like we've got some capped brood, some syrup and nectar stores, and some larva that is not quite ready to be capped over yet. So here's what that side looks like. Looks like they are backfilling there. There's a lot of bees on this frame, but that's what that side looks like as well. Yeah, this queen's doing extremely well. The hive behind me, which I'm going to go through next, I'm really kind of anticipating that inspection because that queen has really slowed down a lot and there really wasn't much brood at all in there last week, so we're going to check her out when I'm done. Hopefully I just caught her on a bad week because she's been a pretty good queen as well. So here I've got a frame of capped brood and larva with some syrup up at the top. And the back side looks like we've got some eggs, some larvae, kind of sporadic cells that they're backfilling. So hopefully, there's that side. And you can tell they're kind of backfilling a little bit of those cells. And that's what that side looks like. I do want to see them storing more sugar syrup up here and nectar. So hopefully we've got more brood down in the bottom box. I want to make sure the queen has enough space to lay. And hopefully they'll get more drawn out now that I've switched that feeder up in the super and start putting some nectar and syrup stores up there. So far I haven't seen any other invaders yet, so I've got a frame of capped brood here with some syrup and nectar around the edges. There's one empty queen cell on the bottom. And the back side I've got some capped brood. And I'm trying to see if I've got eggs in here. It doesn't look like it. It looks like we've just got some empty cells on the other side. Here's our capped brood on one side, and it looks like the other side are pretty empty. On the bottom there, I don't know if you can see, but I've got a queen cell that's empty that I'm going to tear down. And that is what this side looks like. Get rid of that queen cell. There's so much propolis there. When I bring this frame up, hopefully I'll get a shot of that. Okay, this frame's really, really light. This is a frame we pushed inward, and they're just kind of starting to draw out a little bit more and store some sugar syrup there. We did rearrange some of the frames previously, and same thing here. This is an empty frame. It looks like they're starting to build it out. This hive builds in these strange patterns, but hopefully we can get them to correct it. So there is that side, and again, this was an empty frame before, and on this side they're starting to draw this out as well. we've had 3 frames up here in the top that have been empty for some time. Smoke. Oh, lady. Heavy frame. Okay. So I've got a frame of brood in the center with some sugar syrup and nectar. Got some drone cells. Okay, lots of drone brood here. This is our frame that they were. Got all those drone cells on, and they have significantly drawn the rest of the frame out. And this has some brood and capped syrup and nectar, and it does look like maybe they're backfilling these as these emerge. Absolutely more stores in here than last week. So that's that side, lot of capped syrup and nectar on it. And there we have this side. Check in and make sure we don't have any yellow jackets over there. This next frame looks really pretty. Time for some new gloves. I can already tell this is going to be a heavy frame. And I was correct. Very, very heavy frame. Lots of syrup. Lots of capped syrup on here. There it goes. And beautiful capped syrup and nectar on this side. So absolutely more progress. Look how beautiful that is. And this is 100% just stores for them for winter. And that is this side. Okay. Let's see if they've made some progress on these frames. And I've got another frame of syrup. It got a little more capped than last week. And this side was empty, and they're just starting to draw some on this. So there is our side that just got a little bit drawn out on it. And that side there. I'm really happy with how much syrup and capped syrup and nectar that this hive has now. They really struggled with that for a little bit, but they've picked up a lot, and I think that feeder has helped. So this last frame looks to be empty. Next week I will probably shift the frames again, but I don't want to shift them today. I just did it last week. Okay, and yep, and this side is empty. So what I'm going to do is put these girls back together in this box, pull it off, and we'll look down there in the bottom deep. So you have some hives that really make a lot more propolis than others, and this hive is one of them. So you can see that beautiful propolis kind of going down the side of the hive there. Alright, let's check them out down here in this bottom. So far they look great. We've seen eggs. We have lots more stores in here. The first frames are always the hardest to get out. So again, here on our outer frame, still not much drawn out. They've really kind of thickened that comb too. Certainly not enough to really store anything in it. And on this frame, they have drawn this out more. We've got some really pretty pollen and a little bit of sugar syrup stored in here. They have started to repair that chunk of comb that the queen cells were on. As you can see, the comb is darker in the center. That is older comb, and it gets lighter toward the outside, which is fresh comb that they've built, continuing to draw this frame out. And you can see there's some pollen there in the center. So they already see in progress down here, and that's the back side, not really much on there. They are irritated. Well, hello. Give them a little bit more smoke. Really light frames down here in the bottom. And got some more comb drawn out on this frame too. We've got some drone cells, but other than that, these are pretty much empty cells. And on the back side, we've got still even more comb drawn out, and this looks like a frame of pollen. So they're bringing in new pollen, which means we're coming out of dearth into fall flow. I have seen some goldenrod in the past week or so, and these videos are a little bit behind, so by the time you guys are seeing this, we're a week to 2 weeks out. Hopefully as we get toward the center we see a little bit more eggs. Not sure if we're going to finish this inspection today either. So I've got a frame here that's got a little bit of brood, capped brood on it, and we've got some pollen. And on this side, got some drone cells and some syrup and some pollen. So kind of a mix on this frame. Just checking for queen cells where they're clustered. So there's what this side looks like. Kind of a mix of stuff on this frame. And that is this side. I am going to be checking their pollen stores. Again, I do see some newer pollen being brought in, but the amount of brood in this hive is pretty significant. I'm really excited to see down in this bottom box. Oh, we've got lots and lots of pollen here. So I'm not worried about their pollen stores. I suspect we're going to find more. And we have a lot of pollen on this frame as well. Lots and lots of pollen in there. It's tough to see probably because there's so many bees on the frame. That is pollen on this side as well. And it's beautiful yellow orange color. All right, girls, we do this every week. Okay, let's take a look at this frame. And we've got a frame, a little bit of capped brood on here, and kind of pollen sporadically. I do see some eggs. Very, very dark comb. This is one of the first frames that they drew out. And this side we do have some capped brood with some empty cells. And a little bit of pollen as well. Alright, so there's this side. I gotta be on my finger so I don't want to flip. And that is what this side looks like. Some really big drones in here. You should be getting close to the point where they'll start to kick them out. Just check over here and see if I see any yellow jackets where I see bees kind of fired up. No. Kiwi is coming over. Probably not the best time for Kiwi, but it's my co-star back here. Even when the bees are fired up, she's still out here. Anybody else's nose not itch all day until you get your veil on? Okay, I've got another frame here with pollen, a little bit of capped brood, and a little couple of cells with some syrup in them. And on this side, I've got a frame of capped brood with some empty cells. So there's that side. And you notice how dark this comb is compared to the upper box, and that is because this is older comb. So you can definitely tell where the bees have drawn out new comb versus the older comb in this hive. And this bee's kind of hanging there at the bottom. Another frame with some capped brood and some pollen, and there are a little bit of eggs in here. And we've got a frame of capped brood on the other side. And I don't see any eggs in these cells yet. Maybe they were kind of newly emerged. But what I'll see if I can show you on here, so if you look on this frame, that's capped brood with some empty cells. But you can see there in the center how dark that comb is, and right there on the edge how light the comb is. So that comb on the edge has been built more recently, and you can also see that on this side as well. So that is this side here, but if you look up there in the top corner, that's really dark comb, but up on the top corner it's pretty light. So these bees are still continuing to draw out this comb in the last couple of weeks. So if you put a honey super on and your bees aren't immediately drawing it out, don't get discouraged, because they will continue to build in the rest of the hive, and ultimately that's what we want. We want for them to have their own stores. We got 3 more left, girls. I have so much propolis on my gloves. Okay. And I've got a frame of pollen and syrup, and again some kind of fresh comb there on the outer corners. Same on the back side, lots of syrup, new comb, and some pollen. Not a lot of eggs down here, but definitely some more brood. There's that side, and again take a look at the outer corners of the frame and how fresh that comb is. Just get you guys out of the way. They want to squish you. All right, 2 more. Was pretty empty before. Oh, actually they've got a little more drawn out on it. I got some bees with some pollen on them, which is really pretty. So, oh, a bee on the finger. So this frame, they've got some syrup stored in here, but this is one of the frames they really haven't been drawing much on. It's a little bit more drawn out, and this side is pretty much the same as it has been. Just a tiny amount of comb on it. So far only 1 empty queen cell, so that's that side. And let's take a look at our last frame, and then I will quit irritating these girls. Oh. So hard to get out. Okay, very light frame. And lots more comb on here. But these cells are pretty much empty and pretty much have been, so not a lot more on here. And nothing still on the back side. So the back side's still empty, but if you look here, they are continuing to draw out this frame. There's just nothing stored in it yet. Okay, so I'm going to put this hive back together, give these girls a break from me, fill up their feeder, and then we'll talk about what we saw on this inspection. Okay, that wraps up our week 15 inspection. Still not doing much with that super. Not really concerned about it. They have really increased what they're storing down in the deeps. Still going strong as far as brood production with this queen. She's doing extremely well. I really anticipate them being really strong for winter. As I said, probably a half a dozen times. If they don't get that super drawn out, I will have another hive pull from. So I do a really modest harvest, and I save a lot for cases like this when I have a hive that is maybe not producing as much. It's not uncommon for a first-year hive to do that. And that's pretty much it. This has been really an uneventful inspection. Sometimes that's really great as a beekeeper, maybe not so great as a viewer, but that's what beekeeping is like. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, give it a like. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.